Hi.
Hello. Hi, Wilson.
What's up, bitches?
What's
We're
up,
here to
Eric?
Do another reel to reel.
What's up, my nerds?
We're gonna watch a fun movie.
What's this movie?
This movie's called Little Nemo.
What does that mean, Bradshaw?
In Slumberland.
Literally means little nobody.
Why?
And
Nemo,
how does it mean
Nemo in Latin means nobody
Hey.
or no one. So anytime it's used, so like in 20,000 Leagues,
Captain Nemo?
Captain Nemo is literally Captain Nobody.
I'm sorry. Are you talking about the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen?
That too.
Okay, that's the only way that I know.
And then
You don't know Whale of a Tale?
Got
Got a whale of a tale to tell you, lads? Whale of a tale or two? Got to flap the fish and the girls I loved?
Yes.
That
And
Captain
then,
Nemo? Captain Nobody?
My favorite one being Finding Nemo. So that's literally Finding Nobody.
Which is very introspective and very,
Yeah.
profound.
Yep. And so this movie is literally called Little Nobody. So.
Well, if you think about it, Marlon didn't have to find anybody. He had to find himself.
Yep.
He had to find his courage to
The piece of him that was missing.
let go of his
The
son.
piece of him that was
His child
missing
growing up.
after his wife died, which is literally symbolically Nemo, like his kid.
So he
Mhm.
should have gone and found that barracuda because his wife was sitting somewhere in that barracuda.
That
or
cuda.
That cuda. Bear down, barracuda.
I think something should have came from that barracuda. Like, we see it on the dentist's wall.
Something
That
should
would've
have
been
came
cool.
to-
Be like,
If Marlon would have been like,
It's
it's your my wife.
get triggered.
You son of a bitch. Yeah, but we're here to watch a little Nemo, not talk about Finding Nemo.
Tell us about this Tokyo movie,
I don't-
Shinsha
I
Ko.
don't. This was one of the movies that I just somehow as a child ended up having on VHS. I don't remember how I first saw it or how we even it must have just been in the store and then the cover looked fanciful enough that we picked it up. But this is one of the movies that I watched over and over and over and over again.
Was it called like Nemo in Dreamland?
Little Nemo and His Adventure. Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland.
Slumberland.
Yeah. And it's an animated.
Slumberland, that's a nice place to get that.
And it animated not only in that fact, but it's also made by a Japanese animation house. So it has a very high fidelity of animation. It's very detailed. It's very smooth. It's pretty colorful and fun, and there's some songs, and it's definitely like everything that a kid could enjoy. There's
Good characters.
There's good characters. There's fun characters. There's like a lot of levity to it, but then there's also elements of like spookiness and some stuff that's I wouldn't say scary, but it's definitely more dark than other stuff in the movie, and that's a very good balance to hit for a children's movie to have.
Yeah, from what I remember, the main plot is that Nemo is tricked into opening the door to all the evil and the scary stuff.
So it's like this little boy. It's based on a comic strip from 1920 something, I think. A French artist came up with this about a little boy that when he goes to sleep at night, he has adventures in his dreams. And that's the conceit of the movie. So we'll get into it a little bit more after, but basically he just keeps having these adventures in his dreams until one night the retinue of the king of Slumberland, like the king of dreams, basically is like, hey, I have a daughter and she needs a playmate. Why don't you come and be my daughter's playmate? And then so he goes off to Slumberland and has all these adventures, and he has his own hero's journey of like, when he meets the king is like, ah, yes, not only are you a great playmate for my daughter, but I think you'd be my successor as well. Now take this, and yeah, he like...
The staff opens the door.
There's a responsibility of being the king, and
Mhm.
you can't let out the Nightmare King, and he's been locked away by the King of Dreamland and stuff like that, and then Nemo kind of like, in his naivete, or like he's just a young child, his curiosity gets the better of him, and the Nightmare King does get released, and then that leads to all kinds of like more adventures that have a bit more danger to it. And he gets a staff of power with like magic words, and he meets goblins and trolls, and there's one character design in this movie of a monster that is pretty fucking cool.
Mhm.
It's almost something straight out of D&D.
That's cool.
I can't remember the name of the monster right now, but it's like
It's like a Chernobog or something.
the Nightmare King is like, almost a Chernobog design, but it's like a flying manta ray. I forget what they're called in D&D, but it's really cool. And
Oh, okay, yeah.
it's only an hour and a half, so it's not a very long movie.
Yeah.
Average length for like a children's.
And we're watching it on YouTube, so if you're watching this,
UpTub.
you can definitely watch it on UpTub.
If you find this discussion interesting, or if you want to
Watch along with
watch
us.
along with us, and when we take our break, just put this on pause and come on back when we're done, and when you're done with the movie, and think, see what you think about our discussion, because this is easily digestible. There's nothing
very.
too heady. There's no abstract.
Or just watch it for the animation, because what I remember is that it was like, I don't know, when did it come out? Did we say?
I think it came out late 80s, early 90s, probably.
Look at any other like Disney movie that came out during that time, and you won't see the intensity or the fidelity that you were saying about like of the animation, like how it's they drew in 24 frames in Disney, but this seems like it's 60. Like it seems like it's way more. Like, the clarity is there, and the attention to detail is
It's
awesome.
very lavish. Yeah.
Did we say how this was based off of a comic strip?
Yes.
We just did.
What
A French comic artist.
He was an early comic strip on Dream of the Rarebit Fiend before receiving his own spin-off series, Little Nemo and Slumberland.
What for the year?
The year was it launched in 1905.
Yeah, really, really early.
Ended in
comic strip.
1926.
And they made like a couple of Nintendo games for Little Nemo, not based on this movie, but just like Little Nemo. It was kind of like Kirby in a way, where you would just go through like
Dreamland, that
you'd go
Kirby
through,
and
like,
Dreamland.
I don't know if it was called Slumberland in the game. You would go through your dreams and like you'd find a rocket or a gliding squirrel suit. You could fly around in that. And, one thing that I believe is like a big staple for the character of Nemo is that when he goes to sleep and has his adventures, the way that he gets around is on his bed. So he'll wake up in the dream on his bed, and then you can fly his bed around, and his bed, like the legs will grow and do different stuff, and then
Have big legs.
So this was released in 1989.
There we go.
Contributions by Ray Bradbury, Chris Columbus, and the holiest of holies, Mobius.
That's great.
That
You
does
can
not surprise
definitely
me.
see it.
That
You can
actually
see
doesn't
it.
surprise me at all.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like, I've seen some shit from this.
Just the attention to, well, even the artistic direction, even though the animation was from this Japanese company, like the direction of the art, the origins from it, and then like what they wanted it to be, like the standards of, looks like a Mobius standard.
And there's such like design, especially there's such grand designs for like castles and landscapes and creatures, and the score,
A plethora
the
of
score for this
beautiful
movie
stuff.
is really, really good and really pleasant. So there's a lot of tunes that stay with you, like to this day. Before we started recording this, I was singing to myself one of the songs, like I remember verbatim. And there's other ones too, like "We are the booms, boom, boom." Like a late in the movie song. There's one about like a prince must learn to dance, a prince must learn to fence, like all this stuff. It's so much fun.
Here's a little behind the stuff here too.
Oh wow, here we go. Bradshaw behind stuff.
It was a box office bomb in its original Japanese release.
Okay.
The film suffered additional commercial failure when released in the United States, where 11 minutes of material was removed in order to secure a family-friendly G rating from the MPAA.
Which is why when I think I watched this like last year, a couple years ago on YouTube here, I was like, I swear to God that there is stuff in here that I didn't see as a kid.
Really?
And I'm pretty sure that this is the
They kept it in, like the director's edit of like all the stuff they took out from the theatrical.
probably.
That's cool.
Yeah, because I remember there being stuff like this wasn't in the version I had as a kid.
Gotcha.
We got some actor boys in here too.
Mickey Rooney.
Mickey
Rooney.
And Rene Aubergine, whatever the fuck his name is, played Odo on Star Trek
Who's
Deep Space
he?
Nine.
Oh,
Okay.
he's the professor in this. Yep, he's the professor.
Professor Genius.
Yep.
Anybody else would know? I don't.
We can save it for
Now
later.
that you say that, that's actually like, wow, yeah, of course it's him. That's awesome.
No one else you really like. No.
Oh no,
Oh, Nancy Cartwright
you cannot deny. Who's she?
and Ellen Gerstel as pages.
Yep. They're like Harlequins.
Michael Goff too.
This is, with it being a movie that's about dreaming and about that kind of. There's a little bit of
Like-
play with the movie of like what is real and what is a dream, or how your dreams can drive you to do more things in your life. Or
Yeah.
how it can kind of like give you different perspectives sometimes. And there's just so many imaginative things. Like I'm thinking specifically of one sequence with Nemo and Flip, who was Mickey Rooney's character, and they're just going on this little adventure. Like they're running from the guards at the palace, and they go through this one room that's really outstanding with its art, with its design of, and the conceit of like what this room is. It's really cool, and there's a lot of those different moments. And
It's like MC Escher style stuff.
kind of, yeah.
One of the teachers described it as teacher number 2 is played by Michael Goff, who played Deckard Cain in the Diablo series. And Gopher.
Stay a while and watch.
And Gopher in the Winnie the Pooh.
Stay a while. Learn how to be a prince. I know which scene he'd be in, and so I'll have to listen for Deckard Cain.
Well, yeah.
And there's a Winnie the Pooh movie called A Very Merry Pooh Year.
Oh God. Okay. Well, that'll be for another time. But we're gonna get into this video,
Yeah, we're gonna start watching Little Nemo,
and we'll get back to you after we watch it, and we'll give you our hot takes after maybe you watched it too. So pause it now. Go watch the movie with us, and we'll be back.
And now, our feature presentation.
We made it, Flip. You gotta change your ways. No more smoking. You in Slumberland.
What's this fucking wave right here?
Mm-hmm.
See ya, Flip.
There's, yeah, I think this is Niagara. Yeah,
That's racist.
It's Nicaragua.
and then
It's pronounced Nigeria.
confirmation of the New York
Yep.
right there.
It's Ellis Island.
It's Lady Puberty.
It's not
Lady
Ellis Island.
Puberty.
It's Liberty Island.
Yeah, it is.
A dream.
That's not Ellis Island. No, that's Liberty
No.
Island.
It's Liberty Island. Ellis Island's like
It's a
another
little bit-
island, like
It's a little bit that way.
adjacent. If anybody asks my name,
crying.
I'm gonna start doing that too. Tyler.
Oh, this is little smoochins. Smooching monkey.
Oh. That's when you started
Oh,
nocturnal emissions.
Nocturnal
dude.
emissions. See, look at that bump right there.
Boing.
We are the boops, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Tyler.
Mhm.
Oh, see, you missed your opportunity.
That was a jest. I find that funny. Nemo?
Dad, since when do you give a shit?
Didn't you know, Nemo?
The circus? Really?
Can I put on some clothes finally?
Now hurry up.
Oh, I wish it would have just ended there.
Oh, I suppose you should have said sandwich.
Yeah.
Just the
I wish you would have went, hot damn!
Fucking right.
We'll just end on hot. Hot! Dude goes off.
Oh, I meant something different. In the background.
foreshadowing. Just you see a dirigible. Well, that was Little Nemo.
Oh shit.
Fumio Aida.
Adventures in Slumberland. You can go do your doink.
Okay.
Yuji Nakamura. Junko Saito.
Yeah.
These animators really killed themselves with this.
They
It was
did.
like they were adapting, or at least I was picturing each little chapter as like its own contained
little issue.
I'm fairly
issue.
I'm fairly certain that like one of the big plot points of the comic strip was him going to Slumberland, so like maybe some of the designs of like Bon Bon or the castle or like some of the stuff came from the comic strip. And I wonder how many like plot points came from the comic strip too. If they just adapted like from the comic strip, oh, he goes to Neverland and there was never any nightmare. But
Neverland.
they just added that to this to give
Slumberland.
it an element more of like
It is very-
adventure and
It is very Panish, very Peter Panish.
yeah.
But even like, I'll say like, because it has a very kind of Disney look at Robert Eatman, very Disney look about him.
All these Katsuro Tanaka.
Chuck Shiota.
Robert Eatman.
Yeah, very Disney. Like I was saying, like Nemo kind of looks like Michael from Peter Pan, and the mom kind of looks like the mom. There's a couple the times when I'm reminded that it was Roy Prendergast. When it was reminded that was animated in Asia or Japan, whatever. Is like one with a lot of the like energy things, the explosions, the random energy things. I was like, oh yeah.
A lot of the
But
effects. Yeah.
Also, though, there's a little roundy loop-de-loop there where the dude who was credited for creating that kind of the manga style, I forget his name, but he's the dude that did Astro Boy.
Yep.
His inspiration was Disney.
Yeah.
So the Disney anime connection is a big
Yeah, same with
thing.
Miyazaki said that
Yeah.
he was drawn to how Disney drew the eyes of
Yep.
the characters to like
Yep.
invoke more emotion.
Yeah, and that's
Bigger
why
eyes,
I forget
more
again. I
expressiveness.
forget the dude's name, but that's what he went for.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Disney.
Disney did a lot.
D's nuts. Okay, I'm gonna smoke a cigarette. Keep going, Palace.
We will keep going. I don't know what we're watching WB
Are
for.
we watching Tiny Toons?
4 hours. 4 hours of HD Looney Tunes.
What?
Yeah. I want some Merry Melodies. Cool.
I want some fucking Michigan J Frog.
Everybody do the Michigan rag.
Well, speaking of frog, didn't like Flip look like a frog?
Yeah, he did.
Kind of with a green and like or like skin colored mouth.
And
Yeah.
just the proportions of his head. and
Was he
shit.
supposed to be just like a clown, like a crazy
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
You
circus
saw
type
him-
clown?
You saw him in the You saw all those motherfuckers in the parade right away.
Mhm.
You saw like Bon Bon dressed people. You saw the princess. You saw
the ringleader?
the ringleader who was King Morpheus. And,
So let's break down this. What do we think like Slumberland is? Like,
Well-
is it his interpretation of a circus? Like, because he relates
Somewhat.
the people he saw in the circus to
What's
like
in his
this.
dreams? It's like anything when you dream, like it's from things you see in the real world
Yeah.
that get put into your dreams.
Mhm.
The other thing we were talking about
Mobius
Mobius.
racist.
Of course it is. It's Looney Tunes. We were talking about Mobius, how he had a hand in it. Apparently he was one of the dudes that had his hands in the screenplay. But there's a lot of things in there in Slumberland that we were talking about that look very Mobius-ish.
Credited
And
also
designs
for
and
yeah, for
like
concept
shit like
design,
that.
so.
Yeah.
He probably
It was
did
very
a lot of the initial sketches for just
Yeah,
general
when he was coming
ideas
up with
for
stuff
shit.
for the screenplay.
Yeah, and it was
Makes sense.
the whole circus thing. Like, if you notice that
Look-
everybody,
Looks very French, a lot of that stuff,
It
which
does.
is what Mobius is.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Gingerel.
a lot of the designs for the citizens of Slumberland, they were all sort of either like Victorian dressed, or they looked like performers or clowns from the circus
Yeah.
in that French style with
Yep.
the ruffles and the face paint and like the Harlequin type
Yep.
kind of get up a little bit.
Yep.
Not with that like pattern, but and I think Slumberland is just like the general idea of where you go in your dreams, where all the fun stuff happens, where all the good dreams come from,
Mhm.
and then the antithesis of that is Nightmare Land,
Mhm.
where the nightmares come from, and they had to fly into the crystal cloud in the beginning, and
Did the
Rancho made
nightmare-
a fucking zinger and a half, where they were like escaping from the nightmare, and they're like, if we make it into the cloud, we'll be safe. And what did you say?
So that's what the celebrity nudes said.
That
That's true.
was a good one.
What is the name of the dream character, the nightmare character guy? Did he have a name?
The Nightmare King.
Nightmare King, but did he have like any other moniker
No.
tied to him?
No.
Because he looked just like a typical demon.
They
Yeah.
look like Chernobog.
Yeah, he looked a lot like Chernabog.
just horned like devil, but like I like how you Tyler had to wonder like was it 3D animated, which it wasn't. It was just very well done
When it
2D
was
animation.
in the dark, I was like, the
But
shading was just like
I
he
like
just had silhouettes.
I like how it was silhouettes and how he was shrouded in darkness, and sometimes you would make him out a little bit more clearly when he came closer to the camera, quote unquote.
Yep.
But it was just kind of neat how you could still see just enough to get what he looked like.
You could see a shape
Yeah, but
in the
that's
dark.
always that's always an aspect of like what makes a good scary thing is not being able to fully understand it or just see enough of it to really grasp around your mind around it.
Especially having those. Have you had like sleep paralysis ever?
No.
Like I've talked to people that had sleep paralysis, and they're like, when they wake up, it feels like they have a huge anchor or like a weight on their chest that they can't get up, and they see these really vivid things in the darkness.
Shadow creatures.
Shadow people, shadow things, and like they morph and they form like they're at their
That's where a lot
bed
of
and
ghost stories come from.
they're looking at their the foot of their bed, and they're just like they can't do anything. They just see these shapes in the darkness just morph and form into weird balls. So like it'd be crazy if that was like their design choice for that character,
Mhm.
the Nightmare King, just being like this formless entity that like has these red eyes that just like drift and like turn into weird shit.
Well, it was cool a couple times when they were just talking about like the nightmare in
Mhm.
general, where they'd be like, "Oh, the nightmare, we have to run!" And
When Nemo was fighting the nightmare at first with like those tentacles that had like little outlines of pink almost on
Yeah,
them,
yeah,
that was cool. Like that was animated
really
like
well
really
animated.
nice.
And when it was coming out of the door and cascading up the stairs and through the castle and everything,
yeah, they did a
Um,
really good job on that. Just having that, like the amorphous blob of, I don't know, skin or whatever the hell that was, smoke.
it was just like ooze, like black goopiness, like
Yeah, ichor, some weird ichor.
You got your nightmare hanging off your boss.
Ichor.
That what would, if you had to pick, what would you say was your favorite set piece or like favorite like moment, like strip, like we were talking about how
Yeah.
how individual moments in the movie feel like separate comic strips that have been adapted. I would probably say that like one of my favorites would either be mainly just due to like the design of the environment and how lavish everything is in that frame. When Nemo is first meeting the princess in that big room with all the fountains and the greenery and all that, it's a very, very like ethereal, very comfortable, like
You feel like that's a dreamscape. Like,
yeah,
that's a
or
dream
or
area.
when they're having their little montage of them like riding on the goat carriage with the frog and then
And then they
going on the
fly.
walls and everything like that. Like
That was, yeah, that definitely was a crazy like fantasy set piece. All these weird, because in dreams, you know, you always think about like, ooh, flying in dreams is a big thing. Like I, for one, have never had a dream where I fly.
I have. I have really low flying though. Like I get off the ground and kind of swoop.
yeah, you like
Go up. And down.
momentum. It's like Mario flying almost, or like
Yeah.
mine is where like I'll have to swoop like that and then like run in the air to build up a bit more momentum and then you keep going again. Those are always really fun. Or like I remember ones where it's that swooping gliding thing. I'm on like the top of a hill and it kind of just keeps cascading down and then there's like small waist high simple wooden fences of just like the kind that you'd see on like old farms and stuff.
Oh, sure.
And I'd have to like jump over one and run a little bit and then glide down and it really is
So it's more like just falling, not like flying high and just
not
being like,
flying high, but gliding and just having that mobility in the air and like swooping around and it having a movie
Controlled fall.
about dreams and about children like experiencing these things and kind of like you said, like interpreting what they had in their day and living that out in their dreams. It makes you think to yourself like about the dreams that you've had and about how sometimes your dreams while you're having it turns into a nightmare.
Well, yeah, he
And-
said he loves trains, but he like got chased by one. But then
Mhm.
like he visits the king and they ride one like for
Mhm.
fun.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on like your placement in your dream, like that makes it scary or satisfying, or like comforting.
the beginning of the movie when he's first flying on his bed and there's like the pools of water on the ground and the nice reflection of the sky and the
yeah.
buildings, and then when he goes into that kind of like dilapidated cityscape and he's flying through that was just so detailed and like really great
Very
use
Japanese.
of colors and
Very
inks and just like
They did a good job with the architecture and like the
That was like with the
scenes.
Night King's castle.
nightmare. I know, I did the
Nightmare-
same fucking thing, dude. It's so
The
easy.
Nightmare King's castle is too, as you look at it, it's very, very Japanese anime-ish.
Mhm.
It almost
With like the energy lines coming out of it
Yeah.
at the end and shit.
it
too.
reminded that design of that castle and all that reminds me of Neverending Story for some reason.
I could see that.
Yeah, Neverending Story had a kind of a dreamscape motif to it.
The,
Well,
the,
like
like
we were saying, like Peter Pan and
pillar in the sky that the like,
Never-ending story.
success is on.
Nightmare story.
Nightmare Story.
Never-ending story.
That sounds like a that one weird show, American Horror Story,
Yeah.
Nightmare Story.
Do you think that this could be adapted into live action? Maybe not this specific like
Nowadays, yeah.
100% like
At the
full-on
time, no, but nowadays for
adaptation, but-
sure.
Yeah.
take a lot of the elements from this and rework it somehow to give it more opportunities to have those fantastical visuals and like I imagine this maybe being like kind of like Valerian in a way.
Yeah.
Well, Valerian, yeah, definitely with Luc Besson or whoever did that one. It was a French guy. I mean, he did a lot of those fantasy French stuff.
Yep.
And with that inspired, yeah, I could see it being live action with mix of CGI, heavy CGI.
As I was flipping through the wiki page quick, I know they'd done like theater productions and stuff like that. And there were other movies throughout time, but they were like, and some with kind of live segments, but they weren't the actual like Nemo parts that were live segments.
Are there other cool behind the stuff that you found?
Behind the stuffs, yeah.
Well, we can get to those later, but
Yeah,
yeah.
just keep talking. I'll dive in.
What
I
do you guys think
liked-
of the music?
It was cool.
Yeah, it wasn't used like as much as I was like expecting like cartoon shows to have like these songs that you have to put in to make it, fun for the kids.
Entertaining for kids, yeah.
But they used them kind of sparse, so I was like, that's fine.
A prince must
Oh.
learn to dance.
And those weren't even like real like songs. Like they didn't spend too much time singing them.
No.
It was just like a quick little.
It kind of like just moves the plot along. It's like here's the musical number, and then we're on to the next bit. It's the
Yeah.
connective tissue between those strips.
Mm-hmm.
Many Disney studio animators, including Ken Anderson and Leo Salkin, worked on individual sequences of the movie. And John Canemaker, Corny Cole, and Brian Froud provided visual development. So I would assume they're more Disney dudes.
Those are unique names.
Oh, the Sherman Brothers.
Huh.
They were hired to write the songs for Nemo.
Maybe that's why they're like catchy and actually like
Yeah,
stick with you.
they're just like
Because the Sherman
commercial.
Brothers obviously knew what the hell they were doing with all their hits.
I know, yeah, and they're catchy enough. The boom boom,
Yeah.
those little what are they called?
We are the
Oompas.
Boom boom.
Yeah.
Broom broom.
Funny little thing too.
Funny little thing called
TMS.
Yeah.
Was the
Touch my.
they
Nemo. Touch my.
the animation was commenced in June 1988 as TMS was just completing Akira.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a move.
The success of Akira in Japan further helped TMS finally start the production for Little Nemo.
When did Akira come out? 88?
I think
89?
I think 87, 88.
98 or 88, yep.
That's my birth year, dude. Fucking dank.
You can kind of see like maybe some of the stuff that they learned or that they did in Akira, they then were able to also use those same skills in here, like you were talking about with that really well animated like black goop with the pink and purple hues to it. And,
Well, we made that Karada or
Karada.
where the blob was like taking over the king. It's like, oh no, he's just gonna get squished like in Akira. I was like, oh shit, Akira.
So the Japanese cut was released in Japan on July 15th, 1989.
Uh-huh.
It's the summer that included the release of Kiki's Delivery Service. which was directed by one of the animators who left the production of the film.
Directed
Yeah,
by?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
you were talking about how like Miyazaki had worked on it
Yep.
at one point,
And what was his name? Miyazaki and the other dude. I forget his name.
Yep.
Takahata.
so I think that's what you said, yeah.
Yeah, they both worked on it really, really early on and left.
They're like,
And
fuck
Miyazaki,
this.
yeah, Miyazaki called it one of his worst experiences ever.
You could kind of see how it would come to be one of those things where there's so many like disparate pieces almost coming together to make this story that like, yes, there's a plot, but the plot almost kind of doesn't matter. They could have not had that nightmare thing, and it could have just been like a lot of kids programming, especially these days where you have like
Bright colors.
bright colors and like Tony Tiger or whatever the Mr. Rogers
Daniel?
Daniel Tiger, or there's like an 3D animated spin-off of something else where it's like,
Dinosaur Train? Like all those.
they're
Like,
they're educational and they're all levity. It's all way up here in the emotional spectrum, and it doesn't change or anything else.
Mhm.
But I think it really helped the movie.
Sid the Science Kid?
Yeah, like to have some sort of conflict or some sort of like bad presence and something to like.
I think
come
that's
up
what was
against.
cool about like Mr. Rogers, because when you talk about like kids and their development, showing them this would be kind of interesting because they get these like this maybe some reflectiveness of their own experiences with dreams. Like
Mhm.
they have kids have scary dreams because a kid's growth as a young person is like going through really scary things
Mhm.
and realizing that that's a healthy thing. But like when they're bombarded with all this like positive and like educational things that don't really it teaches them some nice things, but it
Yes.
doesn't train their brain to like accept that things get scary, things will
Yeah,
be scary.
right.
Like Mr. Rogers did that. Like he would talk about some offbeat
Life
kind of
is scary,
things.
kids.
He would talk about like real things. He wouldn't like sugarcoat anything, and they'd go to the land of make believe where it had a lot of like there was a good contrast with this movie. Like there's in the dreamland, in the fantasy world, in make believe. Like it all kind of worked together to teach Nemo that things are scary and that you can't just keep the scary stuff behind a door. You got to open it up and just let the scary happen and overcome it and just accept things when they're scary.
I think there was a bit like I don't really know what the message or like what his lesson was supposed to be because
I think he just surmised it at the end. Like I did whatever he says to the king at the end. He's like,
or maybe it's
"You
about
are my little Nemo."
taking responsibility because when he wakes
Yeah.
up, he's like immediately like, "Hey, I'm really sorry that I've been stealing the pies." Like whether he was sleepwalking or not,
Mhm.
he was at least conscious or
Yeah,
aware
he was
that
like-
it was happening.
He had to read it. He's like, with his one eye open.
But he because there was the whole thing of like she pinned the note on the fridge like remember your promise,
Mm-hmm.
and then the same thing like later on in a dream sequence he goes downstairs with the king is like Nemo,
Yep.
and it says remember your promise, and it turns into the symbol that was on the door.
It turns into the door. Like the wherever the pie was being held, like the thing like morphed into the door.
And I don't know if like that is supposed to be his lesson or the or like the message for him is like remember
Own
to keep
up-
your promises.
Yeah, like own
But
up
that
to the
doesn't-
consequences.
Doesn't really seem like too much because he never really like. But I think it maybe is more about like taking responsibility for your actions and like
Yeah, it's just kind
learning-
of like growing up.
yeah.
I think a lot of it was Nemo has to grow up. He can't just like pretend like that, nothing bad will happen to him. You got to accept the bad stuff.
He can't always be like running around like this and like spinning the wheel on the dirigible.
I'm
and,
having
like,
fun.
Yeah, like in the end, there is some like gravity to his situation, and he accepts that and is like,
Mhm.
all right, well, I fucked up. I'm gonna go get the king.
Yeah, and that's probably his arc was just, being this kind of like whimsical, like I'm having fun in dream world. Oh, this is fun. But then like the message is you can grow up. Like it's good to have those childhood like innocence in you, but then at a certain point in time, you should
Accept
own
that
up to
responsibility, bitch.
you should own up to your
But even
choices
if
here.
you do grow up, doesn't mean you have to lose that.
No, you
Which
don't.
I think was kind of shown with his dad at the end when his dad was like, "Oh, we're going to the circus today, bud."
Yeah.
Like, I'm excited. Aren't you excited? Let's go.
Exactly. Yeah, and growing up just doesn't mean like completely cut off that
Yeah.
that part of your life where you can have fun, but like
You do have
growing
to
up
temper it.
to own your stuff that you put up.
I got some more interesting behind the stuff tidbits here.
Give it a peek.
Early on, so his first step, the Fujioka or whatever, the guy who was the producer, was the brainchild of him. 97 was when he kind of started doing stuff.
77?
Yeah, 77. He originally approached George Lucas a year later to help him produce the film.
Huh.
But Lucas found problems with the storyline, feeling there was no character development for the titular character.
Well, yeah, not really.
Then
Not as
Fujioka,
major.
It's
you
not
think
a
it's
ton. There's
it's a kid show.
A little bit.
Fujioka also approached Chuck Jones of
Huh.
animation fame.
Wow.
He also declined. Brad Bird
Wow.
and Jerry Reese,
How old
who
were
was
they
the
during
director of the Brave Little Toaster and did the
Yeah.
visual effects for Tron.
this? Yeah.
Also worked on the film through the American department as animators for 1 month.
Okay. Okay.
And then another little fun thing about TMS. Well, so after the film was released, Fujioka decided to retire from the animation business. TMS, having to recoup Little Nemo's losses, increased production on locally based anime programs and became highly involved in animation for Western-based productions, including Tiny Toon Adventures, Animaniacs, and Batman the Animated Series.
Jeez.
And then since the early 2000s, they no longer supply animation services to Western studios due to increasingly demanding costs.
Mm-hmm.
They never again attempted a project like Akira or Nemo. They still do features, but primarily spin-offs of existing anime properties, such as Detective Conan.
I love that show.
So,
That's
That
kind
show's
of
dope.
It's really interesting how this movie, like at one time or another, had all these really big names.
Yep.
Either working
Big
on it or
names.
attached to it somehow.
and then
Yeah.
and then big things surrounding them, like Akira and Batman the Animated Series and stuff like
Well,
Well,
that.
and just the
Toaster?
people and all the
Which
people
were,
that those people.
Like the making of the movie relied on the success of Akira, and the failure of the movie had them do Batman. Like all this stuff was really hinged on.
Well, even just the artist, the concept art from Mobius, like all
Yep.
these greats that are in the
'cause you had
field.
Mobius, you had fucking Takahata and Miyazaki, you had
George
Brad
Lucas,
Bird,
Brad
Jerry
Bird.
Reese, George Lucas, all those Disney animators,
Christopher Columbus,
the Sherman
like,
brothers.
Yeah, Chris Columbus has a title in this.
Yeah.
Nancy Cartwright.
Nancy Cartwright in it. Fucking
Pivotal.
Mikkel Rooner,
Mikkel Rooner, fucking
Deckard Cain, which I couldn't find in there. Sadly,
He probably was one of those waiter dudes.
he was probably somebody in there who was just affecting another voice that was much different than Deckard Cain.
Chuck
So
Jones.
it's kind of
Yeah,
hard to tell.
just so many names involved in this. It's crazy.
So it's a good like history to see
Mhm.
like how far we've come, and like I don't think I see like the last Disney movie that was fully animated was like either Brother Bear 2 or like The Princess and the Frog or something
Mhm.
like that.
Princess. The last
Hand-drawn animation.
The last hand-drawn animated Disney movie was Home on the Range.
Home on the Range.
Oh,
The
what
Roseanne.
a travesty.
Roseanne.
And you
as
look
a
at
cow.
how far we've come, like or how far we've stepped away from like just making it look beautiful, like in Little Nemo, like because it is a spectacle. Like if you would watch it, you could watch it just for the visuals itself. Like just the story is just kind of there.
I think if
It's
they're
kind of secondhand.
yeah, really, it is. It's all about the visuals.
It is.
And if there was any 3D used, it was only in the special effects for, like he was saying, like some of the energy bursts or like the staff
The
like
glowing stuff.
charging up or
Yeah, I can tell they use that in Akira for like their light cycle or the cycle things with the light trails.
Mhm.
They definitely did that.
light cycles in Tron.
Tron, which probably what they used in Tron too for the.
Well, like I said,
I think-
fucking Jerry Reese was involved.
Yeah, I
And he was
believe
the one who did the special effects.
there
for
was a
Tron.
Why am I
And this.
blanking on the term?
you wouldn't expect it after it came out in 87, 88, whenever.
Mhm.
The whole quality of the animation and the set pieces, the background arts, like
Yep.
the background arts are just phenomenal.
detailed.
That's probably my favorite part about
The animation
art
is
of
like
this.
smooth, but the background art is just like
It's-
you could capture any of that. And just that's a painting.
I don't
It's a
know.
lot of hand drawn animation too. Like sometimes you'll just the backgrounds are just kind of there. They're not since they're not the focus. They're not putting too much detail in.
Exactly.
But these guys just kind of fucking.
when he and Flip and Flap are like flying through the city, and there's all
Say that
those
sentence
like
again. I love it.
when he and Flip and Flap are flying through the city. There's all those. The tops of the towers are kind of like minarets, like you'd see at in the Red Square, or like it's all so detailed and so varied and lavish. Like it pulls from many different influences, where it does kind of feel like it has a Eastern influence to some of the architecture. But then you get inside the king's throne room, where he's got a laurel of leaves for his crown that he wears, and like a big cape, and it feels kind of like Romanesque in a bit, in a way.
It's like he's borrowing. Well, he's definitely Roman with his tunic or his skirt that he has.
There's parts of it that feel like French. There's parts of it that feel like English, like Victorian kind of.
I think it's all just because of everybody who worked on it.
Professor Genius or
Yeah,
whoever, like
everything
Doctor
that
Genius,
everyone-
he's got the stovepipe hat and the jacket and everything.
Yeah,
It's
but he
all
also
pauper.
reminds me of some of those old timey looking Disney characters too. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah. The character design in this was not like really anything very complex, but it was very neat and tidy and like clean. I
Like
like
Bon
it.
Bon. Bon Bon was kind of special to look at. Like she was unique to everybody else. Like she wasn't a kid. She was like more elf-like.
Or like I forget the name. An imp isn't the right one, but like there are mythical creatures who are like fully matured and living like hundreds or thousands of years, who just look like children, you know?
Yeah.
Sprites.
Sprites.
Sprite.
Yep, just like from Legend, the Ridley Scott film.
God. That's
Tom Cruise and
that's a thing.
yeah, that's definitely that was like
The five
Ridley Scott really like D&D
the
at one point.
6 different
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry designs, and that is crazy.
Yep.
And then young Tom Cruise before dental work.
Yeah.
He's got like a unibrow.
Like right after The Outsiders, like, yeah, let's get Tom Cruise in here.
That's a weird movie, man.
It is.
It's a weird one.
You don't kill a unicorn.
Yeah. No, you mustn't touch them.
That was a sprite or a fairy or something like that. That character that was like all glistening and
Yeah.
like telling Tom
But
Cruise
when
like, fuck off, dude.
when he's admonishing her, when he like goes to show her the unicorns, but he's like, no, you mustn't get any closer. And
Yeah.
She just like creeps up on him still.
But yeah, the Bon Bon was a really cool character. I really liked the character of Flip for sure. He was the most compelling character in the show, played by Mickey Rooney, and he had like the coolest arc. He was just a mischievous, however you would say it.
Mischievous.
Mr. Cheeves.
Mr. Cheeves.
A frightful fellow.
Yeah. He's a frightful fellow.
You're Flip, a frightful fellow.
Yeah.
To his face. He's like, fucking, you don't even know me, dude.
I thought of him as like the Joker of this story. He just likes to do shit.
He just likes to do things because it's fun for him, whether it causes a ton of problems for other people.
Yeah, he's the clown. He's the clown prince of mischief.
When he pulled out his wanted sheet, did you notice how many
He almost-
fucking zeros were on that?
Yeah.
There was like 20 zeros.
He almost gave him the Joker moniker, the Clown Prince of Crime.
Yeah, but he's the clown prince of mischief.
Clowning.
of slime.
Of just mischief. Because that's basically what he was all trying to do. He's like, hey, let's just open up this door. Let's see what happens.
Let's make this dinosaur sneeze.
Yeah, let's make the dinosaur sneeze. That was weird.
Achoo! And it drops the little canopy. The fireworks. And if you watch that scene again, that's the thing I was talking about where they're flying in the tops of the buildings. And as they're flying, the fireworks start getting interspersed really sparsely,
Mhm.
and then it increases the frequency, and then it's just fireworks. So it's a really cool transition from the buildings to the fireworks.
Mm-hmm. After he lights his doink or like he lights one with his doink, and then just they all start popping off.
Mhm.
And then at the end, they kind of pay that back where he's got a huge staff-looking doink, and he like pops it in their face,
Shazam pajama.
and then he just smokes it down, and he's just like woozy. And they're like, "Don't smoke, Flip. That's bad for you."
Cigars.
I know, and that's another thing that I can see. Like, families or parents would just be like, "I'm not gonna bring my kid to see this. It's full of the French people who smoke and like smoking is okay in kids' movies." I don't think so. That's gonna teach my kids that smoking's cool.
This movie has something in it that I feel like a lot of other children's movies wouldn't call the attention to it like they did in this, where there was that scene with the Oomps where they're back in Nemo's bedroom, where Icarus was like, Nemo's gonna die if he casts the full incantation with the scepter, and they called that out, and then it happened. And I feel like in a lot of other movies like Rockadoodle or like where a young character or where the main character dies and then gets just brought back for
Mac
like
and me.
love or magic or happiness.
Mac and me.
Yeah.
They do the
And that movement was creepy. But they like went out of their way to be like, he's gonna fucking die, and then he did.
Yeah.
Which would probably be distressing for some kids if they're like, Nemo, don't die.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
what happened with Ash in Pokemon too. They had to cry on him. The Pikachu had to go big up, big.
Oh.
And he goes up to Ash and he's like, Pikachu. Like, wake up, Ash.
Or just have the looping gif of the Pikachu slapping each other.
Yeah.
Just starts punching him.
Bouncing them.
Just bounce.
Bouncing him.
Just
Bouncing
bouncing.
'em.
Anything else you guys can say about this film? Other than it's a beautiful film.
It's pretty. I had a good time. I enjoyed the animation.
It holds
I
up.
like knowing about all the people that are involved for sure.
Yeah, the
It-
history is the most
It
interesting.
adds
I think.
more.
And every time like I realized Mobius was involved, I'm like, damn, that dude put his finger in all these pies, all those pies that Nemo's mommy's making,
Oh, those Christmas pies.
all those Christmas pies.
It's so varied, like from when they go to Nightmare Land, and that design of the entire place is completely different from anything else in the film.
Mm.
Or there's moments of the film where the lighting is just dark, and they change the hues and the shades on the colors that they've been using for the characters, and
Mm-hmm. I've noticed that too. Different palettes.
Butthole palettes.
yeah, it holds up.
I would say so.
And
For
it's
sure.
only being an hour and a half, it goes by like that, you know.
Yeah, it does.
It's just
Yeah, the story beats are there. It's like, okay, they open up the bad stuff in the first act. They have to deal with it in the second act and then kind of resolve it in the third. Makes sense.
the frogman.
Yep,
The
the
frog
frog.
coach.
Frog was a good
dude.
part. The dude at the front of the coach. That was all good.
I loved it. It made me so happy.
But I think that if you have children, you should maybe think about giving them a viewing of this if they're old enough, if you feel that they're of appropriate age.
Yeah, I showed my daughter. It
'Cause
was
it-
no deal with her. Like
Yeah.
she was like, she's probably still young to understand the concepts, but like, I mean, what age
Well, this is-
would you say it was like? It's. geared
I think
towards?
it's fine. Like anything, real. Like I remember
4
watching
to
this shit.
6 to 7, like
Yeah.
that's the prime. But
Yeah.
almost anybody can enjoy this.
Mhm.
I remember watching the shit like this when I was younger. That it's a kids oriented thing, but it's got darker things in it. That was just the 80s and 90s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was.
It-
I mean, like Land Before Time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, so much.
Nightmare-
Anything done by that motherfucker? Fucking like All Dogs Go to Heaven and Rockadoodle. And,
Rockadoodle was the least like ooky.
Yeah,
out
but
of
it had
all-
some
out of all
ooky
of
bits.
those. It
Yeah.
does. It surely does.
It has dark moments.
This is like I don't really.
We're
think-
back. Remember, We're Back.
Yeah.
They had this
Dr.
screw eyes.
Screw Eyes.
That was creepy
Professor
when they
Screw
turned back
Eyes.
into actual dinosaurs.
Hey, roll back the rock.
Turn back the clock.
Turn back the clock. to the dawn of time and sing this song with me. Oh, Johnny Goodman.
John Goodman.
But yeah, that was our viewing of Little Nemo, Adventure in Slumberland.
Adventures in Slumberland. That's the subtitle. But you can just find it searching on YouTube for Little Nemo. Not
Nemo.
finding.
It's on there. The version that we watched, very, very good quality too.
I know. Yeah,
So-
I was surprised. Like, it's not like a 360p.
I don't even know, like, yeah, what like quality.
nickname for my penis.
Like what
360p.
what quality that,
480p.
that YouTube was playing it at.
Yeah.
But it kind of didn't matter because whether it was 720 or 1080, it still looked fantastic.
It did. Yeah, I was interested, like how you can get such a good quality.
Yeah,
But
it is. It's nuts.
that was our viewing, and we say go watch it right now,
Go watch.
and we'll all be back next time with something new.
Yep.
Something new,
This has
something
been-
old, something broken, something blue.
Real to real.
Real to real.
Real. Too real.
To real.
It goes from one to the other.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
We're doing hand gestures.